Hello, my name is Samantha Shaffner, and the title of this poster presentation is Closing the Gap Monitoring Student Progress with Digital Assessments. Today, I'm going to be discussing different ways that I have leveraged instructional technologies, including Google Classroom, Edulastic, and other formative assessment and data driven tools to um, level the playing field and close the achievement gap and make learning meaningful and accessible for students while also still remaining an efficient process for data collection and just giving kids the best experiences possible while they're in school through providing them with various types of formative assessments where they are provided access, equity, and voice and choice, along with the amount of differentiation and custom made videos, as well as standards based material. Throughout my presentation, I do go over three different data sets. I currently am the coordinator of assessment and accountability at Pickerington Local School District. I did implement a common assessment system this year. This is my second year doing such with Edulastic Enterprise, and it worked beautifully. I worked with a committee of experts, instructional coaches in the area of math, different grade bands, and I did the ELA, they did the math, and we worked as a team to develop assessments that we felt met the Ohio OTES 2.0 high quality student data metrics, we'll say. So the other data sets I will be going over in this presentation, they're more related to title schools. So I do discuss in the publication about implementing a alternative vendor assessment during a pandemic that is referring to career prep high schools, a dropout prevention and recovery network of charter schools in Columbus, Ohio. Throughout the area where I discuss flipping the English language arts classroom with Google Classroom apps, I am referring to Franklinton Prep High School, now known as Franklinton High School. And there is a companion book chapter in the textbook called Applying the Flipped Mastery Model to English Language Arts Education, in which I contributed a chapter with my colleague, Dr. Ann Highland, because we had a very interesting story to tell that you will see in this slide deck. I also do discuss some student feedback from Millennium Community School, which is a K through 8 Title I African American charter school in Columbus, Ohio. So at Franklinton High School, which was Franklinton Prep High School at the time, 89% of the student population was white or black. So we had a pretty fair mix here. It shows you on these nice little graphs. And 25.1% received special education services. 87.1% are considered to be living within federal poverty guidelines, and 65% of the student populations are not able to complete assignments on time for different reasons. And those learning barriers can be bridged with educational technologies. And that is what I'm going to be discussing throughout my poster presentation. So the current problem, we have to have data on our students, and we also need to be teaching to the standards. If we don't teach to the standards, we really don't have a whole lot to go on. So in order for instruction to be fair, it needs to be meaningful and based in standards. And I believe it is a best practice to create teacher assessments where they craft items and understand the standards and understand the depth of knowledge, the verbiage, the way that the standards are presented on the blueprint and on state tests. And I do think that this presentation is primarily about using an edtech tool called Edulastic to actually empower students and teachers instead of testing being a burden on them. It becomes more of just a daily experience that you are becoming proficient at using these tools and being assessed on the standards using tech enhanced items with a tool called Edulastic, which is amazing for many reasons, but very rooted in access and equity and ways to differentiate for all students. And in these dropout prevention and recovery schools, students are they have a lot more responsibilities than most people would have had by the age of 16 or 17. Many of them have to get their kid brother or kid sister off to the bus, or they even have children of their own. 10 school days, 33% of the students at Franklinton High School were missing more than 10 school days a year, and 12.5 were missing more than 30. So the proposed solution is using the flipped mastery model in correlation or in combination with Google Classroom tools for formative assessment and also to facilitate meaningful learning activities. Um, I believe that Edulastic is a great tool to use for students because most of them have smartphones. Although, not all districts are one to one. And luckily enough, the districts that I have been at so far were one to one, besides this school, actually. However, the students, when surveyed uh, back in 2016, when I was, getting into Google Classroom and just starting my, shift of focus into tools that can bring instantaneous data back for me to be able to provide immediate interventions to my students, I gave a survey and I realized that most of my students do have a smartphone. So I have some objectives in this presentation, and there are videos that go along with these objectives. And one of the objectives is to develop strategies for implementing district-wide common assessment platforms using digital dynamic assessments. So I'm going to talk about doing that in the charter school space with schools with about 150 to 200 students, smaller network, and then also scaling that out to a district with 11,000 students on, a more of a volunteer basis on a pilot. I also go over how to test or how to craft test items and how to create your own common assessments. So, if you follow the blueprint, and if you follow these best practices, you'll be able to create an assessment that you understand and that your students understand, and you can provide them with success criteria. And you can also, just have the amount of clarity that you need to be able to get everything you can out of your students before they take these high stakes tests. So they can actually, feel empowered by the testing experience instead of exhausted by it.